Batman Eternal issue 2 picks up right after the end of the first issue, which I've already reviewed on my channel, where Commissioner Gordon is behind bars and different elements of Gotham City are sort of dealing with the effects of that. It's again written by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV and is drawn by Jason Fabok or Fabok. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. The series is continuing to be interesting. Now, what I really liked about this issue is that I won't go into the specifics of what happened at the end of issue 1 if you've not read it yet, but we basically see that Vicky Vale at the Gotham newspaper is undecided whether or not to run the story about Commissioner Gordon being arrested, and that is a nice element to see. It's always nice in books like this to see the inner workings of the sort of background institutions of Gotham City and stuff like that, so I really like that aspect of it. The artwork as well is actually growing on me. Jason Fabok's artwork, you know, it does have a very sort of cinematic feel. I just sort of feel like there's not enough there to set it apart from other similar artists. When you compare it to like Greg Capullo's artwork in the main Batman book, he has a very distinct style and you could pick it out of a lineup. This art doesn't necessarily have that, although it is good artwork, as you can see there. I also like how he draws Batman, and you know, there are certain shots where you see Batman's back and you get a real sense of Batman's physicality because of the muscles in his back and shoulders, as you can see there. So I like how he draws the character. The art again is perfectly serviceable. There's just not really enough setting it apart from other artists for me. Now, this issue continues to sow seeds, different seeds of mysteries that are going to be running throughout the series, I gather. The only sort of issue I have with it is the fact that I feel like even though there are only 2 issues in, they need to start tying stuff together and showing how different pieces relate to each other, because they introduce all these different subplots throughout this issue with no real sense of how they relate to each other. And I know it's very early days, you know, it's only the 2nd issue, but I feel like, especially with a weekly series that people, including myself, have quite a cynical view of, you know, the business side of things, as you'll know from my first video reviewing issue 1, I feel like DC really need to show that, you know, this isn't going to be the Lost of comic book series. You know, they're not just going to sow all these different seeds and then you have to keep reading for months to find out what they all mean. Because this issue does feel sort of packed, introducing different subplots, and I just hope that they don't make the mistake of trying to drag it out to encourage people to keep buying, because I think that'll switch people off. That's not to say that the mysteries they introduce aren't interesting, because they are, and I do feel the desire to read on and find out what's happening, but again, I guess that's my cynical view of this series sort of kicking in. They do as well reveal, I mean, at the very beginning of this issue you see the Mayor of Gotham talking to a mysterious character whose identity is revealed right at the end, and it's a character that I'm sort of interested to see what they do with it. And I think it could potentially be the most interesting aspect of this run. You know, out of all the different storylines they seem to be setting up, I feel like that's going to be the most interesting. So the book itself is fine. Again, it's a perfectly serviceable issue. It's got the right amount of intrigue to keep you wanting to read on. It also, you know, the dialogue between Commissioner Gordon and Batman is, as always, compelling, and it's a very well put together issue. Again, I mean, this series, with it being weekly, I think a lot of people are going to be reading it, and as soon as it drops in quality, they'll probably drop it from the pull list, which, to be honest, I mean, I think if it does drop down in quality, I'll be one of those people that probably drops it, because it's a weekly series, and maybe just wait for the trade instead. But so far, you know, the quality seems to be fairly consistent from issue 1 to issue 2. Like I say, I just hope that all these subplots and mysteries that they're starting in this issue don't take too long to resolve, and I hope that they all actually do tie together. because I think it has the potential to become quite messy. So we'll see what they do with it anyway. But so far, Batman Eternal's a pretty interesting series, and issue 2, if you've read issue 1, is definitely worth picking up, and the series is worth continuing with. That's my review of issue 2. Look out for future issues being reviewed. Thanks very much. Please feel free to rate, comment and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.